Adapted from archaic translation by H. T. Francis and R. A. Neil. JATAKA number 377. Sataka to JATAKA. Friend, be not angry, etc. The master told this tale at Jetavana monastery, of a deceitful brother. The occasion of the story will appear in the Uddala birth. Once upon a time when Brahmadatta was king in Benares, the Bodhisattva was a far-famed teacher and taught the sacred texts to 500 pupils. The senior of them, Sataka by name, was born of a Brahmin family from the north, and was very proud on account of his caste. One day he went out of the town with other pupils, and when coming in again he saw a Chandala. "Who are you?" he said. "I am a Chandala." He feared the wind after striking the Chandala's body might touch his own body. So he cried, "Curse you, you ill-omened Chandala, get to towards wind," and went quickly to windward, but the Chandala was too quick for him and stood to windward of him. Then he abused and insulted him the more, "Curse you, ill-omened one." The Chandala asked, "Who are you?" "I am a Brahmin student." "Very well, if you are, you will be able to answer me a question." "Yes." "If you can't, I will put you between my feet." The Brahmin, feeling confident, said, "Proceed." The Chandala, making the company understand the case, asked the question, "Young Brahmin, what are the quarters?" "The quarters are 4, the east and the rest." The Chandala said, "I am not asking about that kind of quarter. And you, ignorant even of this, dislike the wind that has struck my body." So he took him by the shoulder and forcing him down put him between his feet. The other pupils told their teacher of the affair. He asked, "Young Sataka, have you been put between a Chandala's feet?" "Yes, teacher. The son of a slave put me between his feet, saying, he doesn't know even the quarters. But now I shall know what to do to him," and so he insulted the Chandala angrily. The teacher admonished him. "Young Sataka, be not angry with him, he is wise. He was asking about another kind of quarter, not this. What you have not seen, or heard, or understood is far more than what you have." And he spoke 2 stanzas by way of advice. "Friend, be not angry, anger is not good. Wisdom is more than you have seen or heard. By quarter parents may be understood. And teacher is denoted by the word. The householder who gives food, clothes, and drink. Whose doors are open, he a quarter is. And quarter in the highest sense, we think, is that last state where misery shall be bliss." So the Bodhisattva explained the quarters to the young Brahmin. But he thinking, "I was put between a Chandala's feet," left that place and going to Taxila learned all the arts from a far-famed teacher. With that teacher's permission he left Taxila, and wandered learning all practical arts. Coming to a frontier village he found 500 ascetics living near it and was ordained by them. All their arts, texts, and practices he learned, and they accompanied him to Benares. Next day he went to the palace yard begging. The king, pleased with the ascetics' manner, gave them food in the palace and lodging in his garden. One day he said, sending them food, "I will salute your reverences this evening in the garden." Sataka went to the garden and collecting the ascetics, said, "Sirs, the king is coming today. Now by once appeasing kings a man may live happily all the years of his life. So now some of you do the swinging penance. Some lie on thorn beds. Some endure the 5 fires. Some practice the mortification by squatting. Some the act of diving. Some chant texts." And after these orders he set himself at the door of the hut on a chair with a headrest. Put a book with a brilliant colored wrapping on a painted stand, and explained texts as they were inquired about by 4 or 5 intelligent pupils. At that moment the king arrived and seeing them doing these false penances he was delighted. He came up to Sataka, saluted him and sat on one side. Then talking to his family priest he spoke the 3rd stanza. With uncleansed teeth, and goatskin garb and hair, all matted, muttering holy words in peace. Surely no human means to good they spare. They know the truth, and they have won release. The priest heard this and spoke the fourth stanza. A learned sage may do ill deeds, O king. A learned sage may fail to follow right. 1,000 Vedas will not safety bring. Failing just works, or save from evil plight. When the king heard this, he took away his favor from the ascetics. Satakatu thought. This king took a liking to the ascetics, but this priest has destroyed it as if he had cut it with an axe. I must talk to him. So talking to him he spoke the fifth stanza. A learned sage may do ill deeds, O king. A learned sage may fail to follow right. You say. Then Vedas are a useless thing. Just works with self-restraint are necessary. The priest hearing this, spoke the sixth stanza. No, Vedas are not useless utterly. Though works with self-restraint true teaching is. Study of Vedas lifts man's name on high. But it is by conduct that he reaches bliss. So the priest refuted Satakatu's teaching. He made them all laymen, gave them shields and weapons, and appointed them to be attendants on the king as superior officers. And hence they say comes the race of superior officers. After the lesson the master identified the birth. At that time Satakatu was the cheating priest, the Chandala was Sariputra, and the king's priest was myself. Source. Adapted from archaic translation by H. T. Francis and R. A. Neil. JATAKA number 378. Darimukha JATAKA. Pleasures of sense, etc. This tale was told by the master while living in Jetavana monastery, concerning the great renunciation. The incident that led to the story has been told before. Once upon a time the Magadha king reigned in Rajraha city. The Bodhisattva was born of his chief queen, and they called him Prince Brahmadatta. On the day of his birth, the family priest also had a son. His face was very beautiful, so they called him Darimukha. Both grew up in the king's court dear friends together, and in the 16th year they went to Taxila and learned all the arts. Then, meaning to acquire all practical usages and understand country observances, they wandered through towns, villages, and all the land. So they reached Benares, and staying in a temple they went into the city next day to beg. In one of the houses in the city the people of the house had cooked rice porridge and prepared seats to feed Brahmins and give them portions. These people seeing the two youths begging, thought, the Brahmins have come, and making them come in laid a white cloth on the Bodhisattva's seat and a red rug on Darimukha's. Darimukha observed the omen and understood that his friend should be king in Benares and himself commander of the army. They ate and took their portions, and then with a blessing left and went to the king's garden. The Bodhisattva lay on the royal stone seat. Darimukha sat stroking his feet. The king of Benares had been dead 7 days. The family priest had performed funeral rites and sent out the festival chariot for 7 days as there was no heir to the throne. This ceremony of the chariot will be explained in the Mahajanaka birth. This chariot left the city and reached the gate of the garden, accompanied by an army of the 4 divisions and by the music of hundreds of instruments. Darimukha, hearing the music, thought, this chariot is coming for my friend, he will be king today and give me the commander's place, but why should I be a layman? I will go away and become an ascetic. So without a word to the Bodhisattva he went on one side and stood concealed. The priest stayed the chariot at the gate of the garden, and entering saw the Bodhisattva lying on the royal seat. Observing the auspicious signs on his feet, he thought, he has merit and is worthy to be king even of the 4 continents with 2,000 islands around them, but what is his courage? So he made all the instruments sound their loudest. The Bodhisattva woke and taking the cloth from his face he saw the people. Then covering his face again he lay down for a little, and rising when the chariot stopped sat cross-legged on the seat. The priest resting on his knees said, Lord, the kingdom falls to you. Why, is there no heir? No, Lord. Then it is well, and so he accepted, and they anointed him there in the garden. In his great glory he forgot Darimukha. He mounted the chariot and drove amid the people round the city. Then stopping at the palace gate he arranged the places of the courtiers and went up to the terrace. At that instant Darimukha, seeing the garden now empty, came and sat on the royal seat in the garden. A withered leaf fell before him. In it he came to see the principles of decay and death, grasped the three signs of things, and making the earth re-echo with joy, he entered on paccekabuddha. At that instant the characters of a householder vanished from him. A miraculous bowl and frock fell from the sky and stuck to his body. At once he had the 8 necessities and the perfect manner of a centenarian monk, and by miracle he flew into the air and went to the cave Nandamulaka in the Himalaya. The Bodhisattva ruled his kingdom with righteousness, but the greatness of his glory infatuated him, and for 40 years he forgot Darimukha. In the 40th year he remembered him, and saying, "I have a friend named Darimukha. Where is he now?" He longed to see him. From then on, even in the seraglio and in the assembly, he would say, "Where is my friend Darimukha? I will give great honor to the man who tells me of his dwelling." Another 10 years passed while he remembered Darimukha from time to time. Darimukha, though now a paccekabuddha, after 50 years thought and knew that his friend remembered him. And thinking, "He is now old and increased with sons and daughters. I will go and preach the law to him and initiate him in the order." He went by miracle through the air, and lighting in the garden he sat like a golden image on the stone seat. The gardener, seeing him, came up and asked, "Sir, from where come you?" "From the cave Nandamulaka." "Who are you?" "Friend, I am Darimukha the Pacceka." "Sir, do you know our king?" "Yes, he was my friend in my layman days." "Sir, the king longs to see you, I will tell him of your coming." "Go and do so." He went and told the king that Darimukha was come and sitting on the stone seat. The king said, "So my friend is come, I shall see him." So he mounted his chariot and with a great group of attendants went to the garden, and saluting the paccekabuddha with kindly greeting, he sat on one side. The paccekabuddha said, "Brahmadatta, do you rule your kingdom with righteousness, never follow evil courses or oppress the people for money, and do good deeds with charity?" And after kindly greeting, "Brahmadatta, you are old, it is time for you to renounce pleasures, and be ordained," so he preached the law and spoke the first stanza. "Pleasures of sense are but bog and mire. The triply rooted terror them I call. Vapor and dust I have proclaimed them, sire. Become a brother and forsake them all." Hearing this, the king, explaining that he was bound by desires, spoke the second stanza. "Infatuate, bound and deeply stained am I, Brahman, with pleasures. Fearful they may be, but I love life, and cannot them deny. Good works I undertake continually." Then Darimukha, though the Bodhisattva said, "I cannot be ordained," did not reject him and encouraged him yet again. He who rejects the advice of his friend, who pities him, and would prevent his doom, thinking this world is better, finds no end. Foolish, of long rebirths within the womb. That fearful place of punishment is his. Full of all filth, held evil by the good. The greedy their desires can never dismiss. The flesh imprisons all the carnal beings. So Darimukha the paccekabuddha, showing the misery rising from conception and quickening, to show next the misery of birth, spoke a stanza and a half. Covered with blood and with bad foulness stained, all mortal beings issue from the birth. Whatever they touch thereafter is decreed to bring them pain and sorrow on the earth. I speak what I have seen, not what I hear from others. I remember times of old. Now the master in his perfect wisdom said, so the paccekabuddha helped the king with good words, and at the end spoke the remaining half stanza. Darimukha did to Sumatha's ear wisdom in many a stanza sweet unfold. The paccekabuddha, showing the misery of desires, making his words understood, said, "O king, be ordained or not. But anyhow I have told the wretchedness of desires and the blessings of ordination. Be you zealous." And so like a golden royal goose he rose in the air, and treading on clouds he reached the Nandamulaka cave. The great being made on his head the salutations brilliant with the 10 fingernails put together, and bowing down stood till Darimukha passed out of sight. Then he sent for his eldest son and gave him the kingdom. And leaving desires, while a great lot was weeping and mourning, he went to the Himalaya and building a hut of leaves he was ordained as an ascetic. Then in no long time he gained the faculties and attainments, and at his life's end he went to Brahma's upper heaven. The lesson ended, the master explained the truths, then many attained the first path and the rest, and he identified the birth. At that time the king was myself.